Hello and welcome to Working with Miniatures. I'm Jim and today we're going to be painting children from the Pathfinder Battles Deep Cuts lines by Wizkids. We'll be using Army Painter paints from the Mega Paint set, the Speed Paint Starter set, and the Skin Tone box set. These miniatures are about that tall. There's 2 of them in this blister pack, so it'll probably take longer to paint them than I'm thinking it's going to. So let's get started. I've used speed paints on roughly a dozen miniatures now, and in this video I mixed them together to see how they behave. The results were pleasing. The speed paints combine easily, and even with the limited palette from the speed paint starter set, you can access a significant range of the color spectrum. If you are new to speed paints, be careful when applying them next to areas that was or will be painted with a lighter color. I would also be remiss if I did not warn of the speed paint reactivation problem. There are videos from both sides of the argument showcasing people having and not having these issues. I personally do experience the reactivation, and therefore I spray miniatures with varnish after using the speed paints. Having to take this extra step slowed my routine initially, but I have made that time up by adapting my approach to painting. Now I clean up and prime in bulk on the first day, speed paint and varnish on the second day, and then I can finish the remaining details at my leisure. This approach works for me due to the chaotic nature of my schedule, but if you're lucky to have more free time or just have that type A and have to get it done now mentality, then consider Citadel contrast paints over speed paints. In my opinion, they're both great products, but you're rolling the proverbial die on if you'll avoid the reactivation issue or not. I wonder if it's a humidity thing. Kind of like when baking the classic southern dessert, Divinity. At this point I'm finished with the speed paints, and after they dry I apply 2 or 3 light coats of the anti-shine matte varnish, and after the varnish is set, I resume painting. As I edit this video, I realize that the regiment brush may have been too large for these smaller miniatures, especially some of the finer details and eyes. I continually forget that I purchased the Army Painter brush set, and I should have swapped to a finer bristle such as the afforded character or detailed brushes. Here is a picture of the exposed bristles for comparison. Most of the time these tiny brushes are not necessary, but I suppose they're like screwdrivers. Sometimes you need the giant flathead, and sometimes you need the jeweler's Phillips. I should treat these brushes the same. Just because I can get by with one 90% of the time doesn't mean that I should. I keep forgetting to apply washes after the initial base coats instead of after adding highlights. Because of this, I'm more careful to wick away much of the excess to avoid unwanted staining. If you've watched my previous videos, you will know I'm heavy into the Army Painter paints and tools. Army Painter is not a sponsor, and all the paints and tools are paid for out of my own pocket. I also have Citadel contrast paints, Golden High Flow acrylics, Tamiya, Vallejo, and some Winsor & Newton oil paints. The choice for me to go with primarily Army Painter over Citadel or the others was solely based on local availability and cost. I used to paint miniatures long ago, probably before the majority of you were born. I had almost exclusively used craft paints then due to not being able to afford but a few Citadel paints at that time. Come to think of it, I still possess those ancient relics of the bygone era. And then out of the blue I decided late last year that I wanted to get back into this hobby and begin saving money and biding my time for whatever was on sale next. My first model paint purchase in decades was the Army Painter's Mega Paint set. In preparation for starting this YouTube channel, I had begun painting the miniatures I had collected from the Dust 1947 and Dust Tactics war games, which were all exclusively painted with the Army Painter's Mega Paint set. I had chosen these miniatures as I figured batch painting about 100 or so would give me the experience needed towards establishing this channel. Curiously, I feel like the dust miniatures I painted with less experience came out better than many of these Pathfinder Battles miniatures. Is it possible I'm getting worse, or is it I'm adjusting to the speed paints? Could it be with the quality of the sculpts, or am I just getting in too much of a hurry trying to pump out a video a week? Maybe it's all the above. The good news is that some of these questions will be easy to answer. I have a few more Pathfinder Battle miniatures I want to finish, but I just also happen to have unpainted dust miniatures that I've never even opened. After a few more videos, I'll return to the dust miniature line and see how it compares not only to the best and worst dust miniatures I've painted previously, but also to the best and worst miniatures I've painted on this channel. Spoiler alert is, the best miniature I've painted thus far was done so decades ago using craft paint with a 99-cent brush. Find yourself watching other people painting and haven't started yourself, or maybe it's based on a financial limitation, just know that you don't have to have the best or most expensive tools and paints. I'm not the best painter around, clearly, and mediocre at best, and I'm at peace with that. I want and will get better with time and practice, and just maybe as I learn, I can make the mistake so you don't have to. Here's the final results. Hardened leather and Gravelord Gray mixed together for the bucket looks really good. The hardened leather and pallid bone for the boy's shirt looks really good being mixed together. And the pallid bone with the skeleton bone highlight makes for great looking blonde hair. And the next time I use speed paints, I'll drastically reduce the amount I have been applying just to see if it helps reduce some splotchiness. Here's a quick overview of the paints that were used for each miniature, and there should be an informational link at the top for how I did the bases. That's going to be it for today. I hope you were inspired to start or expand your own collection, or maybe you just learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and if you like the content of this video and would like to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. This is Jim with Working with Miniatures. I am truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Till the next video.